at the time doing a fair bit of surfing, and two of my mates who I was surfing with just decided to mix out one day when there was no swell, and they had a few hand spears, and that's all they'd kind of ever done, and they decided to take me out, and I'd never gone out with them. And on that day I shot 2 luddies, Ludrig. So I was pretty stoked, and they actually hadn't got anything that day, so I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. My name's Harry. I've been spearing and freediving for around 5 or 6 years. I guess it really captured me once, someone with a bit more experience took me out, and I started to really learn how to do it effectively and safely. It was purely once I could catch my own dinner, and once I knew I could go out and catch my own dinner, that's when it kind of set in for me, and I was really captured by the sport. And then it gets to a stage where you're just trying to get new goals. You want to dive a little bit deeper, you want to dive certain spots. The exploration's kind of endless with it. The fact that you see so many different things, whales, sharks, fish, anything, every day is different, and it keeps you captivated with it.
The obsession.
I can see how it could be confronting for people who aren't exposed to it, or don't have the understanding. If you go to the supermarket and buy fish or any other meat, you know that it's part of a very destructive process for the environment, with a whole lot of bycatch and all this stuff. Whereas when I go out, and a lot of other people go out diving and spearing, you're selecting the fish that you can see, that you want for dinner, and you select that, and nothing else gets harmed in the process. So every time I do spear a fish and take it home and eat it, I feel like I'm doing the environment a benefit. I'm not taking part in the other harmful industries, and when I share it with friends, they aren't either. So it's awesome. We're taking responsibility for what we eat, and we're not playing a part in that kind of harmful harvesting of food that's found in the supermarkets. Once you start progressing with your freediving, you start to learn and understand that shallow water blackout is the biggest kind of danger we face. Over the years, everyone who dives often has these little scary moments and whatnot, and they really shouldn't happen, and we need more and more education in spearing. I can't recommend a freediving course higher. Those kind of things can only happen once, and you fall through the safety cracks, and you will die. It's one of those sports where you're in water and you're in an uncontrollable environment that you only have to make one little mistake and you're dead, and it's really crazy to think that can happen, and it can happen to absolutely anyone. Actually, I haven't told many people. Most people would be hearing this for the first time who know me. Mum doesn't know, so sorry Mum, but I guess it's an important kind of story to tell. This is about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I was diving up at Coffs Harbour, and I was diving in shallow water. It was clear water. I was really comfortable in the water, and it was only about 10 meters. I dove down to a cave to take a fish in the cave, and I'd taken a shot on a pretty big fish, and it was just as simple as I went to come up and the line just wrapped around my weight belt, and because it was quite a big fish, it was actually pulling me down a bit, but it was not too big of a deal. I just unwrapped myself. I think the biggest player was also that I was diving in current. So whilst it didn't appear deep, I kind of had to take into consideration the current that was making me use more energy. So as I was coming up, I was fighting the current. So I untangled myself, started to come up, and I started, rushing a little bit to the surface. I got to the surface, and I remember, telling my friend about the fish that I'd just shot. I wasn't in too much of a panic, but he later told me that I just came to the surface and I just started rambling random words. He couldn't even understand what I was saying, and then he just saw me start to fall below the surface and sink. So he quickly rushed over to me, pulled me to the surface, and slapped my face a little bit, and he started to talk to me, and I started to kind of regain more of a conscious state. But at the time, we recovered quite easily and whatnot, and we got back to the boat and it was all good. But it wasn't until later that night we were thinking of how serious that was, that if Josh wasn't there, I would have kept sinking and died. So yeah, it was a pretty shocking thing to kind of retrospectively think about. That's why it's extremely important to dive one up, one down with a mate or with numerous mates, to ensure that if that does happen, you know, you won't be, you won't die. It's amazing the friends that you kind of gain through spearing, it really comes back to the idea of mateship and common interests. I mean, you can message someone that you may kind of know and they're going to be keen to take you out just because of that shared interest. You know, I can go all up and down the coast and there's always someone willing to take you out and go out with you, and develop many friendships through that. And it's a cool part of spearing that everyone's so, you know, keen to hang out and dive together. A perfect way to get involved in the spearing community is find a local club, and they'll have plenty of guys with all ranges of different knowledge to you know, shape your kind of free diving and spearfishing. I mean, I'm part of St George Dragons myself, and yeah, it's been an awesome journey, learning from those guys. And there's local clubs all around you that you can join and get involved with. A great example of the spearing community was when I first started. I remember I found, you know, what was my local spearing shop, and it was Obsession Dive, and I went down. It was Craig Shepherd. He was closing the front gate to the shop, and I was like, oh, I'm going out for a dive tomorrow. You know, I was all keen, and I'm like, I just need a knife for tomorrow. And he was like, all right, I'll take you in and get you one. That was really nice of him. But then he also offered to take me out the next week. I went out with him the next Saturday, and he just, you know, taught me so much. He took me out with a whole bunch of guys who were learning as well. And yeah, a prime example of the spearing community and how everyone's keen to help you out. I've had a few people kind of go, are you going to keep spearing and, you know, keep it up? And it's like an addiction, and the amazing experiences you get to have every single time you go out. I feel like you really see that when you take out a new person to diving, or someone that hasn't dove at all, and they start seeing it, and you see the stoke on their face, and all that's just awesome and keeps you wanting more. I think I'm speaking for a lot of people when I say this, but throughout all my experience and whatnot, I feel like I have a massive respect for the ocean compared to before I started. You post a photo and all you see is a photo of a fish, and people just think that you're going out there just to do that, but there's so much more behind one photo. So many experiences and so much to respect in the ocean.